So, blacks were denied access to the GI Bill. More racist rhetoric coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logic and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, the GI Bill excuse is an example of historical crime, and obviously is because this is the story. Is basically an historical event. Now, just to give a little history on the GI Bill, it was actually called the Servicemen Readjustment Act of 1944, and of course, it was introduced in 1944, and it was basically active up until 1946. So basically 12 years it was being waged, and this basically was an act to help servicemen to get reacclimated back into society. Of course, you know, World War II was a major upheaval. I mean, it was a major upheaval on society. It just changed society so much. A lot of men, you know, they were running to sign up to serve after Pearl Harbor, and that left a void in when it came down to manufacturing, which women took up the slack, and of course where we get Rose and Riveter. So it basically was a major upheaval on society, and this act was in an intent to try to help get these soldiers to get reacclimated back into society. Now, the purpose of the GI Bill, it basically did three things. It either gave them tuition to go to school so they can learn, get a skill, or was paid for training so that they can get a skill to help themselves get a job so that they can reacclimate back in society. Also, there was an uninsurance insurance also built into that. So if you were unemployed, you had unemployment insurance to help you tide you over while you try to find employment. And it also paid for housing. You know, your rent or money toward, I guess if you want to buy a home. These are pretty much the three things that they did. Now, according to the history people, blacks were denied access to the GI Bill. Now, is it necessarily 100% true? I'm willing to agree that yes, you know, given what we know about society back then and a lot of things that blacks were denied. You know, you had black soldiers who came home from fighting and still weren't given the respect that they deserved. You know, we had prisoners of war in our country that were treated better than the black soldiers were. So I'm willing to agree that yes, black people were denied this. Now, was it all blacks? I don't know. Was it a small percentage of blacks? I didn't really do the research on that because that's not really the point here. The point is, and my argument for all the examples of historical crime is always the same. We know it happened. Nobody's denying it. The question is, how is it still relevant to today? You know, what black person in the United States of America today is being held back, being prevented from achieving anything? You know, is being barred from a certain occupation or a lifestyle or an income because of the GI Bill? And the answer to that question is none of us. The GI Bill is irrelevant to today because, like I said, it's not holding anybody, black person back. It's not holding anybody back of any skin shade. So the fact that they bring this up is nonsensical. It's just more irrelevant nonsense that they keep using to hype race. Now, one of the arguments that they make is that, you know, the whole lost wealth argument, that white folks took these benefits and they used it to amass all of this mass wealth that we see before us today. And because blacks didn't have access to it, well, we couldn't amass the wealth. Well, I say my first argument always to that is, as a black person, you see that we didn't have the chance to amass all this wealth, so we lost wealth. Well, how much wealth has been lost by black people with this perpetual victimhood? We waste more time and energy crying about the concept, the idea of white supremacy than actually try to do anything. You got all these racists who keep hyping up all this nonsense, telling black people that they're victims. The white man's out to get us. You know, systemic white supremacy. There is no system holding you back. You know, keep crying about the colonizers as if as if only white people colonize land, and as if colonization is still going on today, which is insane. No, they keep filling black folks' head with this nonsense. We so busy worrying about stuff from the past and crying about system, we don't have time to be successful. So I would say there's been more wealth lost by black people by perpetual victimhood and black inferiority than any bill or any act from the past that supposedly denied black people access. And even today, we still see more victimhood amongst black people today. So the GI Bill has no bearing whatsoever on the state of black people. And the GI Bill is not the reason why you see all this mass sums of wealth in America. It was wealth being generated long before the GI Bill. And wealth has been generated long after. Because I say this stat many times, the majority of millionaires today are first generation. In other words, they're the ones that amassed the money. So if they can do it, anybody can do it. And there's nothing holding a black person back. If a black person wants to be a millionaire, there's no law, no institution, no system stopping them from doing that. We just have to stop with the victimhood. And that's all there is to it. So the GI Bill is completely and totally irrelevant to today, and it's not holding anybody back. It's just an excuse, another excuse that race hustlers use to cry about racism. Anyway, if you ever hear any black person say blacks were denied access to the GI Bill, well, now you know, and let's have the battle. And as always, y'all, until next time.